Hey guys, how you doing? It's Dave here. I've just been reading a book called The Way of the Superior Man by David Deida, and it's a great book. It talks about the masculine and feminine polarity. So the deal is most men, about probably 90% of men are actually masculine, and about 90% of women are essentially feminine. And what he found is that what actually I've found in learning in the book is that back probably in the 1970s, you had the feminist movement, right? And if you look at that feminist movement, you'll see that a lot of women were encouraged to be more masculine. And around the same time, you had the hippie movement. So a lot of men were essentially pushed to be more feminine. And that created a challenge. I don't know if it's a coincidence or what, but you had a lot of the around that time you had a lot of the men who were now starting to become more feminine in relationships, and women become more masculine in relationships, and that created a real challenge. Created a real challenge for relationships at the time. And I don't know if it's a coincidence, but you had a lot of the high divorce rate at that time, and I'm not sure what the divorce rate was in the 80s, but it really spiked up, probably around the 50% mark, and it's been around that since. So whether that plays a role, that creates a challenge, because see what creates in a relationship a strong charge, a strong attraction, strong passion, is when you have polarity. When a man is essentially in his natural masculine state and a woman is in a natural feminine state. And if you start to have a woman who's starting to become more masculine and the guy's masculine, well then they lose their polarity. And the same the other way around, when you have a man becoming more feminine and a woman becoming more feminine, then it loses polarity as well. Or what about if you had the man who's naturally masculine, he becomes feminine, but a woman who's naturally feminine becomes masculine. Now they're kind of putting on a mask of who they are in authenticity. That happens. So it's all about how do we actually become who we truly are in a relationship. And the guy in the book, David Deida, he basically has a strategy, and that is, for the men, essentially they're driven by their purpose. So what their purpose actually is. And so if a guy doesn't know his purpose, well then he has to figure it out, or at least have a sense of purpose in his life, a sense of mission. That's what drives him, and that's what attracts the woman, essentially. And the woman, hers is quite different. Contrary to what we've been conditioned to believe in this modern society. The motive for a woman is not about the career. Generally, I'm talking general here, because 90% of women are essentially feminine, but their motive is more essentially around love and connection and all those aspects. Yes, they can be incredible in their career and incredible in those other aspects, but their foremost, their initial mission themselves is really around love and connection. And if they're not basing their life around that, in the book he talks about this, that they can get stressed. So one of the great tools for a guy, which I actually learnt this recently, one of the great strategies for a guy is when your woman is incredibly stressed, one of the best things you can do is actually overwhelm her with your masculine presence. So you actually put your arms around her, You know, I'm talking here if she's in a really stressed state. If she's just like lost it, you know, the last thing you want to be doing is trying to fix her and, you know, try and solve her problems. No, that's not going to work. You know, you'll probably get worse, right? And you know what I'm talking about here, guys, where if your woman is quite stressed, you know, she gets, you know, in this state of just being overwhelmed, or she gets upset, you know, emotional, all those things. One of the best things a guy can do in that situation is to really, you know, overwhelm the woman with your masculine presence. And that means, you know, physically, you know, hold them and support them and just be there for them emotionally, physically. And when you do that and you hold on, you don't let go, then essentially she eventually comes back to that feminine state and connects with herself again. And that can take a few minutes, but it's a great strategy. Something I've just learned recently. And I highly recommend the book, The Way of the Superior Man, for all of you out there. Especially the men, because honestly it is a great book. I believe it was written in 1997, so it's been around for about 20 years now. Great book. I highly recommend it. And maybe maybe you've read it before. If you've read it, or if you know anything about it, feel free to put some comments down below about what you believe about the book. Do you agree with it? Do you disagree? You know, put some comments in. I'm more than happy to have a discussion about this. And also, if you do agree with it, what have you taken from it? What have you learned from the book? Excellent. All right, great, guys. Glad you could connect with us on this video. I'll see you soon.